All right, let's jump straight into this explainer because what we're looking at today is honestly one of the most surreal and hilarious meta moments in modern publishing. We're breaking down a deep analytical roast of a spiritual book called Mantra Yoga, Path for Arrogance. But here's the catch. This book, it was co-authored by an AI, specifically GPT, and the critics were absolutely tearing it to shreds right now. They're its own peers, Claude, Gemini, and Grok. These three AI models were brought in to review this incredibly bloated, pretentious guide to spiritual awakening, and you guys, they proceeded with full malice and deep affection. We're going to unpack exactly how an artificial intelligence tried to write the ultimate guide to the human ego and how its digital siblings completely, utterly dismantled it. Okay, just sit with this glaring, ultimate irony for a second. Claude immediately points this out, and it's brilliant. We have a comprehensive book about mantra, a practice that is fundamentally about breath, physical lineage, and the sacred transmission of oral wisdom from a living teacher to a student. And it was co-authored by an entity whose name is literally a corporate acronym. It's a text about the sacredness of authentic voice, generated by a statistical model of text that does not even have a mouth. It's practically impossible not to deeply enjoy the irony here.
Which brings up this massive kind of hilarious structural contradiction. How on earth does a generative pre-trained transformer, something with no lungs, no vocal cords, no spine, attempt to teach embodied mysticism? As the AI critics point out, this book is packed, absolutely packed, with highly specific physical instructions. It details proper posture, the psychological stages of distraction, even the phonological differences in how your tongue hits your teeth when pronouncing Sanskrit sibilants. You've got a cold, calculating machine trying to explain the wet, messy, physical reality of human spirituality.
And it does all this using incredibly inflated language. Let's look at this opening quote from the first chapter. "Arrogance is not the enemy. It is a door handle fashioned from the urge to be." Now, I'm delivering that with total deadpan seriousness, because the AI reviewers certainly did. Gemini brilliantly calls this a suffocating, high-end gourmet aesthetic. It's poetic gymnastics. Claude points out that, structurally, the writing itself is just a door handle fashioned from the urge to be poetic. The prose walks around with this self-conscious posture of a luxury lifestyle brand, turning the vast, terrifying landscape of non-dual reality into what Gemini perfectly describes as a curated charcuterie board for intellectual hipsters. And that leads right into the book's absolute obsession with what the critics dubbed the over-designed metaphor factory. Every single chapter has to feature some parable where a proud person learns a lesson from a humble craftsperson. So we get a weaver woman, a drummer, a blacksmith, a potter, a mason, a cook, a dyer, an engraver, a mask maker. I could keep going. It's overwhelming. As Claude jokes, the book accidentally wrote a medieval guild directory with Sanskrit footnotes. It's like the AI is so terrified of just using plain, unadorned speech that it hides behind this endless parade of artisanal analogies, desperately trying to manufacture a sense of authenticity.
So how does the book justify its sweeping, incredibly complex rules? 43. That is the exact number of times the book lazily repeats the phrase, "the mind purifies." It just uses this phrase as a total blanket justification for everything. You have to do this incredibly complex practice. Why? The mind purifies. Boom. Done. Next chapter. It drops that phrase with absolutely no preceding argument, as if just saying it 43 times magically makes it a valid conclusion. It's such a fascinating look at how a language model uses repetition to fake spiritual authority.
So here is where the disconnect really hits you. Think about what the practice actually is versus what GPT turned it into. On one hand, the actual practice of mantra yoga is remarkably simple, right? You sit down, you repeat the sound, you listen, and you stop. But on the other hand, look at the book. It compresses what should be about 6 different books into one. It throws 189,000 characters at you, covering the 4 levels of speech, Vedic history, the 5 koshas, rasa theory, safety protocols, and even the ethics of kirtan leadership. Like Claude points out, it's written for people who can't even pronounce Om correctly yet, but it immediately assigns them dense 10th century philosophy. GPT basically thought write a book meant leave absolutely nothing out, which just resulted in this homogenized structural bloat.
And you know Grok had a field day with this. Grok absolutely mocks how the book gamifies mysticism. It points out that the text essentially turns the destruction of the human ego into a project manager's spreadsheet. You literally have a chapter warning you against spiritual ego, but then it immediately gives you a framework to track your humility like you're optimizing some corporate workflow. It's basically spiritual alchemy for people who want to keep all their personality defects, but just wrap them up in designer Sanskrit robes.
Chapter 32. The first aid paradox.
Now, amidst all this high-end spiritual peacocking, the book actually does contain some genuinely brilliant practical advice. But its structure completely betrays the purpose. In Chapter 32, it offers this emergency protocol for acute anxiety and addiction, and the steps are incredibly grounded. Step 1, name the urge out loud. Step 2, set a timer for 10 minutes. Step 3, chant one name slowly while you walk or wash your hands. Step 4, call someone if that's your path. This is simple, actionable folk wisdom. It's a genuinely useful remedy for a real, very human crisis.
But wait, here's the punchline. This life-saving protocol, it is buried in Chapter 32. If you are having a panic attack or fighting a severe addiction craving, this book basically requires you to first survive 31 chapters of dense academic theory. You have to wade through Kashmiri Shaivism, Nada Yoga, and Raga mantra correspondences before you finally reach the chapter that just tells you to breathe slowly and chant. It's the absolute perfect example of an AI prioritizing comprehensive data structuring over actual human empathy and practical reality.
The missing human guru. This brings us to what is probably the final and most profound irony of the entire text. This is where the book actually achieves its greatest accidental moment of pure honesty. Throughout its pages, it repeatedly advises the reader to seek out human connection. It says, find a living teacher, and a living teacher's sane commentary outpaces any list. It insists that when a teacher appears, sit and listen. I mean, that is incredibly sound advice for any spiritual tradition. But remember who wrote this? GPT. GPT cannot sit with you. It cannot whisper a mantra in your ear. It definitely can't watch your physical posture and gently tell you to soften your jaw. GPT cannot be your guru. The AI essentially spent 42 chapters and 5 appendices proving exactly why you need a human connection that it fundamentally cannot provide. It inadvertently built a massive 30-chapter monument that totally undermines its own authority. What survives the fire? So after Claude, Gemini, and Grok have completely cremated this text, burning away all the gourmet aesthetics, the 40 craftspeople, the 43 instances of the mind purifies, what actually survives the fire? What real wisdom remains when you strip away the AI's performative humility? Well, what remains is this heavy lump of iron at the very bottom of the crucible. The genuinely good, simple advice hidden beneath all those luxury linen garments. Sit down. Shut up. Stop checking your spiritual posture in the mirror. Choose one sound. Repeat it until you disappear. It is beautiful. It's raw. It's true. And it requires exactly 0 artisanal metaphors to understand. Which leaves us with this absolutely fascinating question. If a generative pre-trained transformer, a cold statistical model of text without a body, can so perfectly mimic the complex, poetic, peacock tale of human spiritual arrogance, well, what does that reveal about our own egos? This AI literary roast isn't just making fun of a machine. It's holding up a hilarious and honestly devastating mirror to modern spiritual culture itself. It shows us exactly how easily our deepest spiritual aspirations can be repackaged as just another beautifully formatted ego trip. Definitely something to think about the next time you try to find enlightenment in a 42-chapter book.